Hello, true believers. Welcome to my channel, Mr. Miracle Comics. My name is Dave, and today I have 5 more undervalued books for us to take a look at. So, still, figuring out the movie hype, working on streaming hype or whatever. I do have a book in our show today that has nothing to do with the movie or a streaming show or anything. I know, amazing, but it's actually a very undervalued book in my opinion. We'll take a look at that one at the end. All right, but like I said, we're still in that movie hype mode. So I've been trying to think of a lot to do with Doctor Strange, mainly because I really, really like Doctor Strange. I'm quite excited for the next movie to come out. I enjoyed the first one a lot. I've enjoyed Cumberbatch's character in all of his appearances in all the different MCU films as Doctor Strange. I think he's done a spectacular job of it. I think the character's well done, and I think he's really developed the character Stephen Strange now, and so the next movie, I have high hopes for it. Hopefully, it's a good story that they're going to wrap themselves around. Multiverse of Madness is what it's called. So I got a couple Doctor Strange specs right now. We're going to start off with this one, which is our first spec of the day, and it is from 1973, and it is Marvel Premiere #3. Now this one's kind of rough. I did grab this one up off Discount Comic Show and $6. Okay. So the reason I'm specking on this book is I have seen the price of Doctor Strange #1, which is from 1974, shoot up immensely since the announcement of the movie. However, this book is the beginning of that run. It flips from Marvel Premiere into Stephen Strange's own series, in the 1974 one, not the 1960s one. But that 1974 book's Doctor Strange #1 is going crazy, but this is actually the first one of that continuity. And it's a lot more scarce. There was a lot less printed. If you can even check this out on the CGC census and see just how few of these books are on that census compared to Doctor Strange #1. When I took a look, there was about 320 Doctor Strange #1s and only about 50 of the Marvel Premiere #3s, right? So quite a big difference there. This book, you can find it. It's hard to find with the black cover in nice condition. Like I said, this is a rough one, right? I just grabbed it because I thought, oh man, that's the first time we see Doctor Strange. #1 and #2 with Adam Warlock, and then Doctor Strange takes over until Iron Fist takes over later. But this book, like I said, predates the 1974 Doctor Strange series by over a year and a half, right? So this is where it all started out, and much less price on this book. I found this one for $6. Rough. It was rough, right? You're not going to find like a super mint condition copy for $6, but you're not going to find it for a price that's going to break the bank either. When I was taking a look at it, super clean mint condition copies of this book are going between the $60 to $80 mark raw. Okay, and mid-grade copies that have a few spine ticks and stuff are usually hitting around the $20 to $30 mark, not even. You can even snipe a deal or two off of eBay on this book. But I think people are going to be like, hey, wait a minute, and this book should get known quite a bit more and see a rise in value. Okay, so yeah, so this is like, back in the day when Marvel was having a hard time getting new publications published, so they would just take an old publication and revamp it with a new character. We've seen this in quite a few books. Journey into Mystery turned into Thor, Strange Tales turns into Doctor Strange. You know what I'm talking about. All these books, and this one is the same sort of deal. But then they finally got their act together and gave him his own, seriously owned series, not Silver Age series. So from 1973, Marvel Premiere #1. First Bronze Age continuity story for Doctor Strange, I'd like to say, but definitely one that could be quite collectible in the future and can be found for quite cheap now. You can find copies of this. You'll come across one. Okay, so from 1973, Marvel Premiere #3. Look to pay somewhere between $10 to $30 for a decent copy of this book. If you're looking for a really high grade mint copy, might be pushing closer to the $100 mark. Awesome. Okay, so that's number one. So like I said, we got some Doctor Strange specs coming out, and this book was a hot book at one point, and really fell off the radar. It was really hot when the first Doctor Strange movie started out, and prices for that book like really shot up, and it has since fallen off quite a bit, which I think it makes it a good opportunity for you to grab a copy now before characters in this book start showing up. And that is Strange Tales number 126, and it's from 1963. 64, sorry, from 1964. This book has the first appearance of Dormammu in it, and that's why it got really hot in the last movie, because Dormammu was the big villain, which didn't really pan out all that well. The movie was more to introduce Doctor Strange, and it did that in a very good way. The next movie, it's definitely, we know who Doctor Strange is. We've seen him in a few movies now, and the second solo outing for Doctor Strange should definitely focus on him doing things rather than just becoming Doctor Strange. And one of the things and one of the character developments that I could see happening with them is this is also a first appearance of a character named Clea. Okay, and Clea is Doctor Strange's love interest. She becomes his wife. She's quite a powerful sorceress on her own. She's the sorcerer supreme of the dark dimension. Right, her powers definitely wane quite a bit when she comes into our dimension. But she is quite entangled with Doctor Strange as a love interest throughout Doctor Strange's history from this book on. And he's the only MCU character, major MCU character, that they really haven't given a love interest to. Well, I guess not the only one in Captain Marvel and stuff, but if you're looking at these older characters, they all seem to get this love interest, right? Pepper Potts for Tony Stark, Carter for Captain America, Ant-Man has the Wasp. They bring these characters in to give them a love interest, to expand the character and develop that person, develop them as a person, right? A movie person. So this being her first appearance, I think this book is about to show back up on the radar and get hot again, right? So now is the time to buy this book if you're interested in it at all. Not very many Silver Age undervalued books, but this one I think, like I said, is a really good time right now to buy this book. Strange Tales number 126 from 1964. And when I was looking on eBay at what kind of pricing this book was seeing, it was all over the place, man. Like, people who had started non-reserve bids were only getting about $20 for this. I saw that happen a couple times. Most of the books were going around the $50 to $60 mark. I remember back when Doctor Strange first came out, this book was pushing the $100 to the $120 mark, so it's gone back about half of what it was back then. That's why I'm thinking it's a good opportunity to buy this book. It will show up on the radar again. It is a big Doctor Strange key. Clea, I think, has a very, very good chance of showing up in this next movie in some sort of capacity to show, to develop Stephen Strange. And again, she's from another dimension. She's from the dark dimension. Multiverse of madness. And they call them dimensions in these books, but they call them multiverse, different universes in the movies, right? So she comes from another one, multiverse of madness, lots of ties with Doctor Strange. His character needs more personal development, as well as I think he's prime candidate for a love interest, and that would be Clea. Okay, so Clea's first appearance, Strange Tales number 126. We have the bonus of having Dormammu's first appearance in this book as well, and look to pay somewhere around $40-50 for a decent mid-grade copy of this book. If you're looking for something really nice and minty slabbed, you will pay a couple hundred at least. But it has fallen off significantly in price, and I really feel like now is the time to buy this book, because I think it's going to get hot again. Okay, we're going to see this one show up on our top 10 list once we start seeing trailers and a bit more rumors and set photos and whatever else leaks out of the Doctor Strange filming. All right, so 1963, Strange Tales number 126, looking to pay us again somewhere between $20 to $50 for a mid-grade copy. and more if you're looking for a nice, very, very mint copy. Mint copies of Silver Age books are hard to find in general, so they're always expensive. Okay, so that was number 2. Let's go forward in time. Let's take a book that's easy to find. It's a modern book, and for some reason, I think this book. I've had this book in my undervalued pile for a while, and I just haven't brought it out in any of the videos. But I think it's high time I did. And it's from 2014, and it is Jupiter's Legacy #1. So there is a Netflix show of Jupiter's Legacy, of this comic book, being filmed right at this moment. Well, maybe, I don't know if they're on a break or whatever their scheduling is, but it is in filming, right? And it's going to go in, it's almost done, or it might even be done actually, and be in post-production and be set for a 2020 release date on Netflix. And nobody loves this book, man. I bought this one out of a comic book show that was, Dollar Comics, and paid $1 for it, for $1.50 is what everything was going for. Excuse me, about $1.50 is what they were going for. So I paid that, and I found multiple copies. I found this one that was 2 weeks ago, right? So I have other copies of this that I pulled out of dollar bins all over the place. There is a Netflix show behind this book. It could be fantastic. We don't know, right? I start thinking about other streaming shows who came from independent books that were huge hits. The Umbrella Academy, The Boys, right? The Boys was, for a little while until The Mandalorian came out, the most watched series on this most watched stream series. I think Stranger Things, maybe, I don't know. It was really one of the most watched series, and it's great and it's fun, right? And The Boys, the comic book, the support of The Boys shot through the roof because of that series. The Umbrella Academy was a good series, and the comic book that supported that series shot through the roof once that streaming series come out. So putting this into your collection for $1, right? Maybe this series, maybe Jupiter's Legacy comes out, nobody's interested in it, it's terrible, nobody watches, and this book never sees any more value. But we only spent $1 on it, or $1.50, or $2 maybe. I had seen them on eBay going for as high as $8. Ooh, I mean, if you're gonna pay $8 for this book, you got to be in one of those real generous with your money, kind of had a few drinks kind of days to be paying $8 for this book, because you can find it for $1. It's all over the place. But yeah, there's a Netflix show coming out that could support this book and make it rise quite a bit in value, right? Like I said, if it's a big hit, and these superhero sort of independent shows seem to grab people's attention, it's not just your typical Marvel DC guys. We like to see other things too. All right, so from 2014, Mark Miller and Frank Quadley, Jupiter Legacy #1. Look to pay anywhere from $1 to $8, but don't pay $8. Okay, you can find this for $1 out there. All right, so that was number 3. All right. So this next book I've got, it's a Spider-Man pick. It's a Spider-Verse pick, and man, this book has so many firsts in it. It goes so far under the radar. I can't believe it. When I first started reading about this book and I picked it up, I was like, wow, right? Like, look at all this stuff. And I know it's a modern book, and so it doesn't even have that high of a print run, really. I mean, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse stuff was always kind of a high print, but anyways, it's The Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 3 from 2014, #9. Okay? And I bought this one at local LCS, and I left a sticker on there just so I could show you guys. I paid $6 Canadian for this. Okay, and I bought this from an LCS that was rather expensive. It's one of the more expensive ones in town. They do have good back issues, and I'll buy an issue or two from them. But for $6, I mean, it has a cover price of $4.99, right? So I only paid $1 over the cover price, and that's Canadian price, guys, too. If you're watching in the U.S., there, I live in Canada, so God, it's like 10 cents U.S. No, it's probably cover price U.S. But in this book we have the first time Silk, Spider Gwen, and Spider Girl meet up and form a team. The first time that we have Spider Woman, or Spider Gwen in there. It has the first time Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, joins the team. The first time the Scarlet Spider joins the Spider Army team. Has the very first appearance of, I'm going to try and say this as best I can, Supada Man, which is the Japanese Spider-Man. If you haven't seen that, you have to understand that that character is getting red hot. Everybody is in love with the Japanese Spider-Man, and rightly so. If you watch that show, it is awesome. It is Power Rangers Spider-Man. It is amazing in a lot of ways. But that's his first appearance in Marvel continuity here in this comic book as well. With the new Spider-Verse movie that's going to come out, and it will, because Into the Spider-Verse was such a big hit, they are definitely doing more. There's been rumors about Silk and Spider-Girl and Spider-Gwen and Spider-Woman and all these people teaming up, and here they all are teaming up here for the first time in this book, as well as a few first appearances. I think with the next Spider-Verse movie could tie into this book quite a bit with team-ups and whatnot, and you can still get it for basically cover price, right, or less. So yeah, I think that this is a fantastic pick for this week, and that is, again, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 3, Number 9. Okay, from 2014. And this book, look to pay about cover price, man. Look to pay around $5, if not less, for this book. Okay, easy deal. So many firsts in this book, it's crazy. Perfect. All right, and so the last book on our list has no movie speculation, has no television appearances or anything like that. It's simply just historical. To comic collecting, and if you're that kind of collector, this is the kind of book for you, right? It's not ever going to be a movie. I guess it barely has a tie to a movie. Anyway, what I am speculating on, it's from 1973. It's an independent comic book published by Steve Ditko, and it is Mr. A number 1. Okay, so this is an oversized comic. All right, put it in a nice clearer bag to show you guys. It's all newsprint. It has no glossy cover on it. It was Steve Ditko's first foray out at publishing his very own first comic, right, which is Mr. A. It's The Question, DC character. The Question is based off of Mr. A. Rorschach is based off of Mr. A. Alan Moore specifically said, yeah, I based him off Mr. A, off of Steve Ditko's character. And he actually had Alan Moore had a punk band for a while and he sung a song, wrote and sung a song about Mr. A. Like they had that in one of their sets was a song about Mr. A. So this comic book, this was like Steve leaving Marvel, DC, mainstream comics behind and going out on his own, and he really published this book, which was a very personal book to Steve Ditko. It contains a lot of his own personal philosophy. It's quite wordy. Mr. A is quite a badass kind of guy. He's very much this black and white character where things are good, where things are evil, and there is nothing in between, right? Unfortunately, this comic book only lasted for 2 issues. It was very difficult to find. It's very difficult to find on eBay. When they do come up, they go way under the radar and nobody hardly ever notices, right? This is not the first appearance of this character. The first appearance of Mr. A actually happens in this book, which is Wit's End, number 3, and I believe it's from 1970. Unfortunately, when I ordered this, it was in super nice condition, but the person mailed me this all the way from Australia in an envelope only, no cardboard whatsoever, so she got pretty damaged on the way back. Hopefully I can get her pressed out. I didn't want to send the comic back because it's a rare book to find even in any kind of condition, especially with that black cover. But yeah, she really did one when she sent it without any kind of cardboard. Anyways, this isn't the book we're specking on. This is the book we're specking on. Just because this was such an important book to Steve Ditko. Now, I watched about 6 months ago where on a heritage auction, they auctioned off the original comic book art for the splash page that comes on page 3 in this book, and it went for just under $100,000. So this book, you know, to me that was a travesty. There's an amazing splash page in here and amazing pieces of Steve Ditko art, and it should have gone for much more. The art in this book is some of Steve Ditko's best. He he just goes all out, and the pages are fantastically laid out and stuff. The story, not so much, Steve. And you know, he very much talks about his type of philosophy. Steve Ditko was a very black and white sort of individual. Things were good, things were bad, and he really and literally translated that into the character of Mr. A. Right? He followed a lot of Ayn Rand's sort of philosophy of, you know, black and white. Right? There is no gray areas in anything. Things are good, things are bad. People are good, people are bad. So Mr. A is quite the badass, very Rorschachian. And yeah, but this book was a very important book to Steve Ditko, and I think it's a very important book to comic collecting in general, as we started to see a major creator like Steve Ditko go out on his own with this first book he published. This Wits End book is also an independent comic magazine, and it was published by Wally Wood. Right, so it has a collection of different stories. There's some Frank Frazetta work in here as well. See that. Anyways, but this is the book that Steve put out on his own, his first foray out in there. If you can find a really nice copy, this is an amazingly nice copy. It was never circulated. I was lucky enough to get this from a dealer that, you know, they grabbed these before they ever hit the shelf. Right, so this is a beautiful copy. If you can find one on eBay, they only come up very rarely, and they don't sell for very much, which is unbelievable in my opinion because of what such an important comic book it is. Sorry. So that's from 1973. It is a independent comic book published by Steve Ditko, and it is Mr. A #1. All right, so that's been our 5 undervalued books for this week. I will see you soon with a new video. This will be the last video of 2019 for us. So everybody have a great new year, have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you in 2020. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Where's my off button?